Welcome everyone to the Island Life podcast, where we journey onto the island of discovery to relive some of the best and worst moments of Survivor. My name is Will, an experienced Survivor fan, 48 seasons deep, and I will be your guide. And joining us on special two-person adventure is our Survivor newbie, the brand new Survivor fan, who just finished his 5th season of the show. I give you Survivor F.
How's it going, everyone? Yeah, happy to be here.
Now, F, you need to repeat to me what you actually just told me off mic about what saga we've just ventured into in 46, because it made me laugh.
Getting right into it, aren't we? Okay. Yeah, we were originally talking about those first 4 episodes being the Banu Saga, and I gave the rest of these episodes a chance, and it feels like we're now entering into a new saga, the Chaos Saga. And it's, for some, that could be pretty appealing, but for me, it's I take it with a grain of salt, and there's aspects of Chaos you do like, but I watch Survivor and I like to know what's going on. I like there to be competition, strategy, and plans to work out. And sometimes if there's too much going on all at once, which it feels like has been happening since episode 4, then we get into an aspect where it just seems like there's chaos all around us, hence the name, the Chaos Saga.
The Chaos Saga. So I think, like, more accurately, so maybe we can say episodes 1 through 6 is like the self-destruct saga, and embedded in there is like the Banu arc, which is the first 4 episodes. But even
Yes.
within the Banu arc, we talked about last time, we got Jelinski doing whatever Jelinski did, and then Jess doing nothing, and then we did have a medivac, so that is what it is. And Banu himself doing whatever that was Banu. And Jem and her shenanigans with the hiding a fake clue to the idol, and even Mariah, who, I mean, I feel like Mariah is not as guilty as everybody else, but she did still do weird things, and that, I think that contributed to her going out. So, like, all of that happened, and then you're right. These 2 episodes, episode 7 and 8, is just chaotic. It's the merge, so like everyone's together, so maybe that's part of it, but never accuse season 46 of being boring, I guess is what we're saying.
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of different interactions that come into play with a post-merge setting now that everyone's together. But it just continues to feel like, we were saying that there's the self-destruction saga too, but it continues to feel like that's how majority of the people who are in this season are playing the game, where they're not really properly considering what it takes to get to the end of the game. And I know it's easy for me to say from the outside looking in, but there's so many times where people are talking, interacting, or just doing things where it's like, I got a question. Are they even trying to either A, be likable, or B, have a strategic plan on how to move forward? Or if they don't, if they're there for the vibes, are they even like competing properly? Like, it's that sort of question has come up multiple times this season. And at first I'm like, okay, it's part of one specific tribe that we're focused on, the Yanu tribe, to start, where things just are not clicking. Maybe there's conflicting personalities. Maybe they're not able to find a good sort of way to hit the ground running, and it's just causing them to lag behind the other tribes. But unfortunately, we're seeing this sort of continue in a broader scope now that the tribes are merged together. And I just got to wonder, like, at what point will the game start to be played in a more strategic way, where people are thinking and figuring out how to make certain moves? Like, if I was to call a person out, for example, Venus is a recurring name where most people talk about her and how she's not involved in most discussions. She herself points that out. But then whenever we do see her interact with people, she's coming across as bossy, direct, blunt about things, not really approaching things in a very sophisticated way. And the way that she's just talking to people, you got to question if like anyone would want to be working with someone who's talking to me like this, right? Especially if you're someone older who you're like, okay, this person might not have as much experience, but regardless, like, let's see what they bring to the table. And she's coming at you, and it's either you're with me or you're not. And, that like we've seen in past seasons where people have had to adapt their game and change things around to make it to the end. She's someone who, like, we're now 8 episodes in, still is really playing the same game, right? And I would say that she's only still in the game because people have other things that they see as a bigger threat. And it's just been that sort of season for me where, I have not it did not start in the best of ways. And, you always want to give things a chance, but like this has been not that great of a season for me so far. And I'd mentioned to you, Will, like if this season ended today and we're ranking based on all the episodes I've seen so far, this would currently be at the bottom of my list compared to every other season I've watched so far.
Bold words. What's interesting is now that we're officially merged, a lot of people are saying like they're making strategic moves, like they're justifying what they're doing with some kind of strategic goal. A lot of the talk is, let me target the biggest threat. And maybe this is just like the new era, like 41 and on, is so hyper focused on the very end of the game. Your final tribal council resume, because you're hoping if you have a good resume, the jury will vote for you. That
Right.
means that I feel like I need to make a big move, which Jeff Probst loves. Right? He loves telling people, we got to make big moves. So I have to make big moves. And also, I need to be worried about anybody else that either is already made big moves or is a threat to get votes at Final Tribal, like basically a threat to win. And you think about that constantly. But the other two tribes that were not Yanu, they never had to think about it because Yano kept losing all the time. And then Yano couldn't think about it because they had the likes of Jolinsky and Banus like hawking up every single decision moment. So
That's
now
right.
everybody else gets a chance to, like, I feel like everyone's just antsy to do things, and they're doing things. Look, they parallel to season 49. Nobody's being like Jason, like doing nothing. Like the people going into this you thought might be doing nothing, even they started doing something, I think. I mean, maybe Soda is the biggest culprit, but I would argue her thing was making sure she was like her social game, making sure she was part of her own tribe, and it looked like that should have worked, but weird things happened in that tribe. Everybody else, I mean, a lot of screen time for everybody. Um, Maybe Ben was a little not outspoken, but he was also in danger, so he had other things to worry about. Uh, but yeah, I think the theme so far in this chaos saga right now is this idea of get out the threats, and it just makes you wonder, like, are you agreeing with who they're assigning as threats, which is very odd. Sometimes very odd.
Yeah, yeah, and just getting into how we start off with episode 7, which interestingly enough, like this is because now we're in a post merge setting. Everyone's trying to talk about like who the votes are on, who the votes are against. They're all together. So, um, episode 6. I'm trying to remember how it ended off, and who
Well,
essentially said,
it was everybody voting for Mariah, if you recall, and then
voting for
at
Mariah,
tribal.
but this was the episode where Venus still got like a vote, right? Trying to make
Yes,
sure I'm not.
well, so here's a little bit of getting technical with it. You may recall Mariah tried. Well, she did. She used her shot in the dark, it came up as not safe, so it didn't do anything. But that means she didn't vote, because to use shot in the dark, you're forfeiting your vote. So if everybody's together, you would actually expect all votes on Mariah and nothing for anybody else. And yet, there was one vote for Venus, which Venus notices, obviously.
Yeah.
And she wants to know who did it, and before anyone confesses to that, she just decides, it was Soda. I know this. She's always been against me. I'm going to confront her directly.
Yeah.
Which is the first. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Even if she was right,
I
would
mean,
like
it
what use
goes
would
to
this
my
have been?
point in terms of like how, like, is that the best way you need to play the game? We've seen so many people like get their names put out there, and so a lot of them make it towards the end if they're playing a good game. If you're if you have zero proof about what you're saying, you're then going up and accusing someone who was part of your original tribe. It's not a good look, and especially in this case because oddly enough, I was not expecting someone to just admit that, yeah, no, it was actually me who put your name out there. But interestingly enough, Charlie actually does admit to her afterwards once she accuses Soda of, okay, like, why'd you put my name down? Afterwards, Charlie actually goes up to her and admits that, yeah, no, actually, I put your name down. And I just did not think that was a smart idea. I don't think it needed to be said. And Q took
Did
it
he feel
even worse than I
guilty
did.
or what?
Q got together with him afterwards and essentially was telling him like, "Hey, like, what are you doing? Like, what's up with this?" And this is nighttime, before they've all gone to bed. But like Q and him Q and Charlie are able to have a quick one-on-one. And while yes, Charlie did not, I don't think Charlie made the right move there, which Q also would agree with me on. I think the way that Q brought that up to Charlie was also like, that's pretty negative of Q, right? Like, that's, you got to stay wary of that. Charlie has never been in any sort of group with Q, and for Q to come up to Charlie and then essentially try to boss him around in terms of like, okay, this is what you need to be doing. Charlie has no reason to follow any of what Q is saying, no reason. And we see him point out that like, okay, like, this is not supposed to be like Q's game where like he's the one calling the shots. And this gives him fuel to eventually try to target Q. So just right off the bat, as the episode starts, we see two different cases of people just socially like not being self-aware enough in order to handle this situation a little bit better, maybe keep things a little calm, move on to the next day, and try to address the rest of the tribe. We see people kind of come out, be blunt, throw accusations, or be bossy, and like, if you're trying to be likable, like, no one likes that, right? Like, no one likes being bossed around. No one likes to be accused of something that they did or didn't do. So that was just the start of episode 7. And I just thought, okay, well, this is looking like it might be more of the same where people are just continuing to do things that could be self-destructive.
Yeah, I'd say like two and a half self-destructive because Venus, like anyone, is upset that there's a vote on her, but she's kind of acting like it's a betrayal. It is a little bit. I think most likely, I forget if Charlie actually said this. Most likely, it's just, well, we all voted for Mariah, but what if her shot in the dark had hit? Well, then we want a backup vote, and so we put one vote on Venus, and Charlie's the one that did
Yeah.
it. Like that is most likely what that was about. Um, but as a little bit of a betrayal, but for Venus to very publicly and loudly go at Soda, I mean, that's not going to do you any good.
It's
Like,
it's a
there's so
betrayal, but the person that she's accusing was not with her. Well, Charlie wasn't with her, but the person that she's accusing did not actually do that.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It's just, and even if she had, like, what benefit are you getting from this anyway? Going at it
exactly.
so publicly. And then same thing for Q. Q talks to Charlie as if they're in the same alliance. Like Q has talked to Banu like that, like when he's coaching him and like teaching him the ways. But you're not actually aligned with this guy. So actually, if anything, you are strengthening your competition by coaching them up. So it feels like, any way you slice it, not a useful thing for Q to do. And lastly, Charlie. I said this. I think this is the half bad, because
Yeah.
after you see Venus being very mad, I don't know if you want to then suddenly redirect her anger at you. I mean, that doesn't sound great. But I mean, there's some scenarios where maybe someone will be like, you know what, I respect what that guy did. He actually owned up to it, and that might mend the bridges, maybe. So that's why I say 2.5 self-destructive tactics we saw.
Yeah, maybe hypothetically he would want to work with Soda, so he wants to make sure that the person that like she could potentially contribute to the downfall for, who she's accusing someone incorrectly, and if it's someone he wants to work with, he might want to just set the records straight there, so they can both develop that relationship, and there's that sense of trust with that person that like, okay, well, he took some of that heat off my back when he didn't need to.
Yeah. We also see a scene with Ben, and it's him waking up in the middle of the night. He's like shaking and kind of like making noise, and
Yeah,
Liz and Kenzie are like, "Oh, are you okay?" And what this turns out to be is a little bit of a uh, like night terror, anxiety
panic
attack
attack.
type of thing, panic attack
Yeah.
from Ben. And both of the ladies are helpful. Kenzie ends up actually staying with them and then making a fire and then spending the night awake with him. Very, very nice for Kenzie. And Kenzie actually explains that she, in fact, has experience with this from other members of her family, and just seeing someone else struggle with that, she just felt compelled, even though she's not aligned with Ben, to be there for him. So that actually, so there's a break from odd strategic move, unless you want to be really harsh and say like, don't help your enemies. But that was a heartfelt moment.
No, I love those moments. That's what really helped me appreciate the relationship that Joe and Eva did, season 48, in that, even if it might not be best for his game, Joe went out of his way to go help out Eva from time to time. So Kenzie here, like, while it might not have been much that she needed to do on her part, the fact that she did anything at all to provide support to someone who isn't part of her tribe, it's a human moment. And I those are things that I appreciate, that like, we're all humans here. It doesn't hurt to help someone, and if you're in a position to do so, why not?
And incidentally, after the human moment, if it ever comes up, that's a bond now between Kenzie and Ben. It may not ever come up, but there's a chance it would. So that's
Yeah,
only positives here. So that was nice.
agreed.
But all right. So I'm gonna bring us right to the immunity challenge, because a whole lot happened between these episodes. So this immunity challenge was the Bermuda Triangle. It was called. Everyone is going to be standing on these like uh pyramid shaped, well, more like 3D triangles, not exactly a pyramid platform. So it's like wobbling in the waves, and you're trying, and there's little wooden planks on the side that are thin. That's what your feet are on, and you just have to not fall in. Now I said everyone, but in fact, the group is of 12 is split 6 and 6 at random, and Jeff reveals that the two groups of 6 are actually competing against each other individually. And the winners of those two sets of 6 are both going to win immunity necklaces, be immune, and then separately, those two groups of 6 are going to go to Tribal Council to vote someone among themselves out of the game. It actually, in essence, it's actually a swap, but it's just a temporary swap, just for this night, and then everyone will be back together the next. You're like swapping from one tribe into two tribes. Um, this is very common in the new era, and every now and then happens over the rest of Survivor. Um, we'll get to our thoughts on the swap in a minute, but first, uh, what do you think of the actual challenge? This is a balance challenge slash, some strength, I guess, to like keep your balance.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw it as a test of endurance again. I'm generally a fan of those. So to be able to see something where I think the focal point for me was Tim talking, Q talking, and just having a back and forth with Jeff. I love moments like that in challenges where the group is just waiting and you have moments of in between where if it's the challenge is running because people tend to endure a little bit longer, you get to have these nice dialogues with Jeff or the contestants themselves. So I thought this was a neat challenge. I liked it.
Let me ask you this. Have you played the alphabet game?
I have not.
Have not. Well, Q invites everyone to play the alphabet game randomly.
Are we talking about Q's version of the alphabet game or just like the
I mean,
traditional?
I guess I believed Q's version. I'm not sure if maybe Q's just making things up. I mean, his version seems to be like pick if you're gonna go with cities, then the first person goes A for Atlanta, and the next person has to remember that and say, okay, A for Atlanta and B for Baltimore. And the next person has to remember, okay, A for Atlanta, B for Baltimore, C for Chicago, and so on. I believe that is what, but no one was at first. No one was understanding. Like everyone was just starting at their letter, uh, and eventually it gets to Charlie. And Charlie, I'm convinced is just trolling though, because I feel like
Oh,
eventually
for
figure it
sure.
out.
For sure,
And
absolutely he was. I mean, it helps that he had that one-on-one earlier with Q where Q kind of rubbed off the wrong way against Charlie. Like you got to understand he's had very limited interactions with this guy and this guy's immediately starting to boss him around. So he for sure must have been messing around with him. And to their credit, I think that there's so much that's on your mind that's weighing you down, especially while you're doing that sort of challenge, that most people are just gonna be like, yeah, like whatever the next letter is, we'll do the city for that. They're not gonna be like, oh, okay, I have to remember everything else prior to that and then go from there. Like you're already going through too much. So, I think that was one of those things where they could have just continued to go on, but Q was just kind of making all these rules about it where it was detracting from how awesome of a challenge that could have been.
yeah, I just like moments like that. Like I think something the season is doing is the people who are left, their personalities are shining though. Like a lot of them are getting a lot of moments to talk in real time and then talk in confessionals and good moments and bad moments and laughing moments. So I do like that, and it happened at this challenge too. Um, but ultimately, at the end of this challenge, which by the way, eventually they had to like go up to the top of the platform, and then after that, go on 1 foot on the platform. So basically, Jeff's like, "All right, let's wrap this up." Um, so on one side, we had let me just see here.
Mariah.
We had no, the other one. So Kenzie
Oh,
wins on the tribe that lasted not as long, and she ends up. Sorry, just reading the different. Okay, yeah. So she beats out Tiffany and Hunter and Ben and Tim and Q. So that's a group, which means that group is going to go to tribal council first with Kenzie immune, and the numbers on that is by chance Q, Tiffany, and Kenzie all together, former Yanu, and then Ben and Tim, former Siga, and then Hunter, the only Nami left of that group. On the other side, it would end up being a showdown between Tevin and Maria. Some really cool saves by Tevin before ultimately he is uh, defeated. But Maria would win, and with her is Charlie, Soda, Tevin, Liz, and Venus. So on that side, 4 original Nami of Soda, Tevin, Liz, and Venus, and then 2 Sika of Maria and Charlie. So now I get to ask you. This is in all but in like name a swap. So what'd you think of this pseudo swap here?
it, yeah, I don't know. I feel like we could have done without. I coming into this episode, I was ready for just watching everyone go at it, free for all sort of approach, just to help whittle the numbers down. I do like the one thing I do like about this is to kind of get through it there are 2 tribal votes, but I'm not sure how I feel about like the swap sort of setting, just because I feel like more often than not, especially with the other season that we've been watching, season 49, it feels like it can end up screwing someone over who otherwise would not have been affected, if the game was just going in the regular way where tribe dynamics weren't being shifted around due to macro events. So generally, I think there are certain situations where it can be done in a more entertaining way, and it doesn't need to detract from anything that's previously been done. But the thing I always worry about is someone's having a great game, and now because of how this swap is being handled, it's screwing them over. And I feel like no matter if you like the person, don't like the person, like that's what the feeling ends up being.
Not that this is an excuse, but at the time of this episode, do you think anyone was having a great game? That's at
I
risk
think
of
this,
being screwed over.
yeah, this particular season, it's hard to say. I feel like the people having great games are the people, ironically enough, that we're seeing less of. So, like, Hunter does come to mind. Who else? I was going to say Ben, in a sense.
Mhm.
Mariah she's not. I feel like we don't see her in too many like social conversations, but the ones that she is, like, she's doing well. Those are the 3 that stick out to me that are playing pretty good. Kenzie Loki has been doing pretty well too, since the Yanu tribe got dissolved and they got into a post merge setting.
Yeah. I at the time, I definitely didn't like it. Like, it will turn out that I'm entertained by what's on my screen, but like, this is the merge. We just came off of a fake merge because they're all together, but more than half of them are immune, so it's not really what I want. And now again, they're all together, but they're not all voting together. So I'm just like, can we please get to a point where everybody has a vote and we're all voting? Is kind of
I feel like they could have done the same challenge, but Jeff could have just said the top 2, like they could have just made it one group rather than have to split it half and half, and just said the top 2 have immunity, and there's 2 people who are going to be eliminated later today. That could have had a similar effect, but the conversations might have been a little bit more meaningful because everyone's involved.
yeah. The fact is, Jeff just likes these smaller tribal councils, and I mean, the whole season begins with smaller tribes in the first place. So that this is what he wants, and that's why we're getting it. But um, I think we'll talk one of these at a time. So rather than like fully chronological. So for the tribe where Kenzie won, which has 3 original Yanu, 2 Siga, 1 Nami, the storyline becomes Q went to great lengths to create this Journey Alliance, the +1 alliance. As a reminder, uh, Tim, Hunter, and Q met at a journey, and they're like, you know what? In the merge, if we're all still here, let's all work together, and all of us, we should bring like a +1, so it'll be 6 in total. And so it's supposed to be Q and Tiffany, Hunter, Tevin, Tim, and Maria. Even though Tim, for some reason, didn't tell Maria about it until like Q told her, so that was weird.
Add
So on
that to
this,
the self-destructive jar.
yeah, well, but not so Tim is the highlight because he did that not just, as far as I could tell, not like he was lazy or he just forgot. Seemingly, it was intentional. Like, he wants to have multiple options. He wants to have the +1 alliance available to him if he wants to go that route, and then he also wants to have his original Sega alliance available in case he wants to go that route. So he's trying to have best of both worlds here. Um, and on this tribe, he has Ben with him as the only other Sega, and he also knows that Mariah was voted out last time, so that's 1 fewer Sega, and Nami's untouched right now in for the merge. And then also on this tribe is Q, Tiffany, and Hunter, who are all supposed to be in his +1 alliance. Kenzie is not, but she's immune, so you can't do anything about that. So, in theory, he's stuck because either he targets someone in his +1 alliance of Hunter, or he targets someone in the Siga alliance of Ben, and it does make it tricky. This is the problem when you're going to try to play both sides here. He chooses to double down on essentially his Siga alliance because he's targeting a Nami Hunter, but he still wants to have it both ways. So his justification to Q is that A, he's a Nami. That's all there is to it. We need to whittle down their numbers, and B, he himself is going to be a big threat. He's a big challenge threat. He's a big social threat. This is an opportunity where he doesn't have his other allies. We should get him out. So, at the time, were you picking up what Tim was putting down?
I could see the case for it. I definitely could. It's just completely ironic that they're talking about a Core 6 alliance that they're going to push forward, and immediately the first name that comes out of his mouth is one of the member of the Core 6. So again, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I could see the threat that Tim sees, but while we were watching it, I was telling you that I feel like this could have been handled very differently, where Tim could have tried to get what he wanted, but not necessarily tried to push for it in the same episode, right? Where you could try to work towards a compromise rather than, we need to get this person out right now.
It did feel like maybe Tim needed to say, like, I'm with the alliance. I think X person is more valuable to us than Hunter because of how dangerous Hunter. Like, maybe if he proposed a way to keep the 6 strong, but instead it's just like, let's cut one of the 6. He's a threat to us,
Right.
and become a 5. I mean, he's saying basically we become a 5, and Q takes this as treason and decides, you dare target one of the 6? That's it. You gotta go. The first of many you gotta goes from Q in these couple episodes.
Yeah, both of them handled that pretty poorly, I think. I think you could have just talked, assessed some different options, and rather than jump to conclusions quickly on, okay, we need to do this, and it can only be done this way, which is what it seemed like both sides were taking it as. Like I said, I think they could have tried to find some sort of a compromise where, okay, even if Hunter isn't necessarily the target this time around, he could be, or like you're saying, make the case for why Hunter, despite the fact that, yes, we're trying to build a core alliance with him, the number shouldn't really matter, and we can still try to stay strong with it. But if the number, for whatever reason, really does matter, where it does need to be a 6 no matter what, yeah, let's just try to find someone else that we can replace him with. We're put in a position where his name has to come up because the tribes, again, are split into 2, so I'm not just saying this for the sake of saying it. He's a threat I'm seeing, and he's on the table, right? Like, just make a case.
Yeah, maybe, maybe it is, now that I've had more time to think about it, because everyone's separated, that means they can't talk to Tevin or Maria, the other, in theory, members of the 6. So if they vote out Hunter and then meet up with everybody else, Maria will be surprised, but especially Tevin will be. I mean, you voted out Tevin's ally, his number 1, and didn't clue him in because you couldn't, and then that could fracture everything, and then Tevin doesn't come back at all, and then it's risky. So I think for Q, it definitely does not make sense to target Hunter here, but at the same time, only because Tim's trying to have it both ways, he can't have it both ways if he votes out Ben. If he votes out Ben, then the only Sigas left are himself, Maria, and Charlie. And so he doesn't really have 2 options anymore, because one option is the 6 and the other option is just 3 people, which isn't a good option. So he'd be locked into the 6. But you know what? Maybe he just should have been happy being locked in with the 6 and then find a way to blindside Hunter another day. Like, maybe that's just what it was. It's
Yeah,
tough.
he's behind. He's between a rock and a hard place there. So this is one where he had to really just take some time to self-reflect and see which tribe dynamic, or whether it's the new +1 alliance that he's trying to go for, which would serve him better in the long run. And if he's able to come up with a conclusion that, okay, this is going to serve me better in the long run, go with that option. I think obviously he spent longer time with Ben, so he's less inclined to be working with Hunter. But we're in the middle of the game, middle of the season, I should say, at this point. So your entire identity should not just be your tribe, because you're going to live and die by that mentality. And it can be very easy to then predict what you're going to be doing if you're members of the other tribes, or at least trying to work in between tribal lines for the other contestants. So it's, for me, yeah, I think he had a valid point with trying to target Hunter. I just think that he was speaking it too soon. And if it came to a situation where you have to vote out Ben, that, as much as it hurts, would be best for his game.
Yeah. But that game has ended as ultimately Hunter, Kenzie, Q, and Tiffany would vote for Tim, and then Tim and Ben would vote for Hunter. No shot in the dark, so Tim is voted out. Would you want to see Tim come back for a future season?
Nope.
Poor Tim. But he said he was the sexiest dad to ever play Survivor.
He's got competition with the Rad Dad, season 49.
Dad. All right. So now we will go to the other group. This is the group where Maria won individual immunity, so she stayed. Now these dynamics are different. So now we have 4 original Nami in Liz, Venus, Soda, and Tevin, and then Maria and Charlie by themselves. Now Maria and Charlie, grave danger, because in this group, without any Yanu, it's kind of a lot more clear what the instinct's gonna be, especially because they smell blood in the water. They already got Mariah out last vote from original Sega. And
Yeah.
Maria is immune. She won. So really, bad situation for Charlie. And yet, on this tribe, we get like 3 different people saying the easy vote's Charlie, but ... And then like whatever their master plan's gonna be. So like Tevin wants to blindside Soda because he has been talking about this for a while, where he really wants to get out Soda. And I don't like, it's like they don't get into fights or anything. I think Tevin kind of feels like his skill is like this great social game, but that's also Soda's skill, and like there can only be one. So maybe that's kind of what that's about. Venus wants to blindside Tevin, and I think Soda wants to slash Liz wants to target Venus. It's like a complicated web of who wants to target whom.
Yeah, every Nami essentially is targeting another Nami.
Yeah, the only person who doesn't catch a stray here is Liz, so good for Liz, not getting targeted. But this is just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you like how being likable can take you further, right? One of the other core aspects that I believe that no one is inclined to choose Charlie, he is absolutely the easy target. If you're just looking at it, you're like, okay, Charlie's going to be the out. He's a likable character. Like he works to building a relationship with everyone. He makes jokes, easy to talk to. And that takes you a long way. It's the exact opposite approach that we see Venus have, where she might not be a threat or she might not be doing this and that, but she's essentially just annoying people or pissing them off, that like she's shutting them down. I think part of it, it's like, yes, you see her side where people aren't talking to her or doing things, but you got to do something about that. And going up to confront someone is not going to make them see you in a better light. So this was interesting, where even like the other tribe vote that we just had, like you're the person you think would be the easy vote ends up not being the vote. And it is that to me was just interesting.
Yeah, Charlie, by all rights, swap screwed here, and yet takes no arrows at this tribal. In fact, like one of the things that Venus does, which ends up looking bad for her, but on paper it's good. Like she's approaching Charlie, being like, essentially, I could save you because she's trying to say like, oh well, you're gonna be safe because my plan's gonna go through where we can vote for Tevin. She kind of tries the same thing on Maria too, but unbeknownst to her, she's kind of been beaten to the punch because Tevin and even Soda's plans are already in flux, and Tevin and Maria, who are in the +1 alliance, like have talked to each other already. So a combination of being sociable and actually being in an alliance, in the case of Tevin and Maria,
Mhm.
is what contributes to their plans having a little bit more firepower than Venus's. And then because of that, Charlie and Maria are also like not fully opening up to Venus, which she gets spooked by for a good reason. Obviously, that's a red flag. And Charlie's even like, yeah, I'm not sure anymore. I might just play my shot in the dark. Um, which if someone was desperate to survive, like I feel like they would agree to go with your plan versus gambling on the shot in the dark. So that should raise red flags for Venus. That wait, why wouldn't Charlie jump at my plus Venus believes she's the like, most strategic player ever. It's like why wouldn't he agree to work with me? It's weird. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, funny enough, like I don't know, do you like all of them not going with the easy vote? Because sometimes, I mean, at 49, we're like, oh, boring. Like why isn't anyone trying to play their own game? So here, no one's playing anyone else. Everybody's playing their own game. And as a result, it's very chaotic.
This is a question where my answer would be different in hindsight. I think in the moment, yes, it's cool to see something not be that straightforward. But in hindsight, because of how chaotic the season has been so far, it would be nice to just have an episode go the way that you think it's going to go in ways that like people make a case for. Okay, this is the most logical person to get out. We all agree we're getting this person out. We don't really have to beat around the bush here. So yeah, I think in this specific instance, it would be, in my mind, better to get the easier person out, especially when this is an episode which has two tribals.
Yeah, and maybe I think at the time, even though I wasn't exactly happy, I'm like, okay, the main narrative is kind of messed up when you like randomly split all the players because usually you have a main theme like this alliance versus that alliance. So in this case, you've like put people in boxes in different tribes. But maybe next episode when they're all together again, we'll get the clear narrative. Maybe it'll be the like damaged +1 alliance versus everybody else. Let's say. So that's kind of at the time that's what I thought would be next coming up. We will
But
find
it
out
it just
momentarily what that actually will happen.
yeah, I mean, like again, we really have to have like a self-destruct counter for this season because like this tribe vote, I'm not generally someone who's advocating for, oh, you always got to stick with tribal lines, but it's just so interesting to see that every Nami member is itching to get another Nami member out, rather than, hey, you have this other person that you could take out that might be even better for your short-term game right now that they just don't feel like is the better option for them. So I just,
Honestly,
if I was to
don't you?
assess the self-destruct thing, yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. I was gonna say honestly, like I think I can forgive Tevin because he's not his priority isn't Nami anymore. He's part of this other alliance, so I think this checks out for him. And for Venus, she's felt on the outs of this anyway, so why would she bother sticking with a group of people that have her at the bottom anyways? I think for them two, it kind of makes sense. For Soda and Liz, I don't know what their next move was going to be, so it makes me raise an eyebrow. And then obviously Maria and Charlie just trying to survive, so they're just gonna pick the route that's easiest for them. Um,
You're
but
you're
yeah,
right. It does make the most sense for Tevin, but I still think that if he was targeting Charlie, it would not hinder him in any way and might even make his end game a little bit easier because the thing that most people tend to pay attention to is original tribe, tribal lines, things like that. they're not touching anything with their original tribe. Now they can get back together with the rest of the tribe and still have most of their Nami members together. And still, he has the option to then do the double dipping that we saw Tim trying to do. He's set up in a better position to do that. And that's only going to help his game. And he can still eventually target that. Like, that's not going to take away from him trying to blindside and take out Soda because she's not part of the core six. That could be the next strategy he throws to them, that, like, hey, this is a show of trust. This is who we target. This is a person in my original tribe. We could do that. I think that would work better for his game.
Yeah, very interesting. Like what we're about to talk about with them. But so Soda does actually get voted out here. Charlie, Maria, Liz, and Venus end up voting for Soda. Soda votes for Venus, and then very important, Tevin votes for Venus. File that away in your back pocket. But it's essentially a complete blind side of Soda. Soda's sad, and Soda, who happens to be sitting next to Venus, is like, "Oh, it was you, wasn't it?" And Venus says, "Yep, it was me." And Venus very smug about this. The last thing we see in the episode is Tevin under his breath, like, "No, no," who's annoyed that someone else taking the credit. But that's the end of this episode. Before we get to the aftermath, we lose Soda. Do you want to see Soda ever again?
Nope.
I feel like she had more to give, but just like things didn't, like we didn't see Nami Beach very often. And then when we were here at the merge, she just got blindsided. So she didn't get a chance to. I liked her singing her campfire songs. That was cool. But otherwise,
I think if you were to ask like most other people, they might be a little bit more lenient. I just tend to have a pretty high bar in terms of thinking like, oh, okay, this person needs to come back in. So for me, it's like majority of the time you're going to probably hear me say no.
yeah. Oh, by the way, last thing for this episode, because Jeff is kind of mean, he says, even though it's the same episode, the first people that go to Tribal Council, that person who gets voted out is not on the jury, and then the other person who's voted out is on the jury. So Soda is our first jury member. Tim sadly ends up being a
Just misses
non-jury
out,
member. So sad.
unfortunately.
So sad. But we immediately go into the next episode, episode 8, which was called Hide and Seek, and oh boy, we'll get into that. But the very first thing that happens is we get back from that. Well, both groups get back from Tribal Council, and this is the beginning of the Q episode. Yeah, everyone's just chatting. The half the people that are back right now, and just the aftermath, talking to Ben a little bit, cheer Ben up because he lost his friend Tim, and all of them are at in a camp at the fire. All of them except Q, who has isolated himself down at the beach, and he's just muttering to himself, looking grumpy. And basically, he's like, "Why is everyone just chatting around, goofing around? We need to strategize now with Ben before everybody else comes out. Nobody knows how to play this game. I'm the only strategist," but etc. etc. What a beginning, given everything else happens this episode for Q.
Yeah, yeah, definitely the Q focused episode.
Yeah, and I also found interesting that eventually the other group comes back, and the people left expect Venus to be had been eliminated. So actually, they thought, even though Charlie was the one in danger, that everyone would actually vote for Venus, and they're surprised to see her. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Doesn't bode well for
It's
Venus.
just, yeah, it's just she's just the most annoying person to be around based on what most people say. So it's more of a frustration vote rather than you're doing anything to hinder my game or you're an obstacle for me to make it to the end. So it it's just one of those things where it's like she could make it far just in the account of no one sees her as a threat and is not worried about her being a vote that the jury picks up on.
Yeah. So we do go to the next day, and uh, we do get, I think it's exactly the timing, but essentially the +1 alliance needs a new member, and Charlie wakes up in the morning and ends up talking with Q. And I think we might have seen Hunter kind of in the background in the conversation too, but Q's the one talking, and they is essentially inviting Charlie to be the new member of the Six or replace Q. Um, and then later Maria talks to Charlie, and she shares stories like, I've been kind of like pitching you as a member, which may or may not be true, but if they're really gonna stick to being two from each tribe, the choices were Ben or Charlie, and they choose Charlie. I guess there's pros and cons. I mean, for Maria, this is great because that's her ally. I don't know if this is great for anybody else. But it's funny. At the time, Charlie's like, "This is great. I was in danger, and now I'm pulled into this majority alliance. This is amazing." Little
Charlie
does he
does
know.
also, I mean, he does make a really good observation where he says, I don't know if this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing, because I don't want to be part of a group where it's now dictating what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of the game, right? Only to then eventually be the first person eliminated as part of that group. So that is a valid point, and it calls into question like the validity of the group itself, how much that they're actually worth working for. And Charlie does bring that up. So I think over the course of the episode, we definitely see some foreshadowing based on what he's saying.
Yeah. On the surface, good thing because I'm part of the big group, but a little tentative excitement since they just voted out someone from this alliance, so we'll see. Um,
The other interesting thing, if you caught up on that or the previous episode, was the dynamic now between Liz, Tevin, and Venus, where they're all convinced that, oh, okay, it was actually my vote that got rid of Soda, so I'm the one who was responsible for that. Venus initially taking the credit, Tevin kind of just taking a back seat there, listening to her and listening to her gloat about a plan that we heard him actually talking about. And ironically enough, Venus was more just trying to get rid of Tevin. And then Tevin's telling this to Liz, and Liz is just thinking in the back of her mind that actually was my plan to get Soda out. So interesting dynamic between those three in terms of they all need to take the credit for, no, I'm the person who got rid of Soda.
it's so funny. This must be way more common than we see because if 5 people vote for someone, I mean, to some extent, every one of the 5 feels like a part of it. S but it's just so prominent here where Venus is so smug, but then Tevin has the tact and wherewithal not to actually correct her on it or do anything. He's just letting her go on, and then when she's gone, just bursts into cackling laughter. Uh, and then the same thing when he's bragging about it himself. And I feel like he wouldn't normally brag, but he's just after listening to Venus, he wants to, to be able to express himself, so he does it to Liz.
Yeah,
And then
so
Liz the
smug.
same thing. She's also able to hold it in. She doesn't like blow up at Tevin, but she says that really like she's the one who wanted to get Soda all these weeks, really all these days. I mean, uh, so it doesn't come to anything yet, but it does like create some potential tension that may or may not uh, explode, and it's part of this resume culture of the current era Survivor, where
Exactly.
you really want to have moves attributed to you to build up your Survivor resume, and then use that at the jury to win the game, basically.
Yeah, honestly, what you were saying earlier in this episode, just perfect example of that, where they're less concerned and happy about the fact that, oh, okay, like this one common person that we all thought needed to be eliminated. We're happy about the fact that, okay, they're eliminated now. They're more, okay, no, I was the person driving this, because they're looking at it towards the end of the game on, this is part of my Survivor resume. And in Tevin's case, that was interesting because like he didn't himself vote for her. So it, while we did hear him mention that, like, we need to do this blindside, like, his actual vote did not go against her. So it's just one of those things where it's like, you gotta worry about the next couple of days and making it past those next couple of days before you can even worry about making it to the final vote towards the jury.
And I want you to really in all your seasons you watch, keep this in mind. Yes, especially nowadays, Survivor resume is important, but you need the jury to care about your resume. Because imagine if
Right.
if if one of them makes it to the end and they say, "That's right, I led the soda vote," then the jury might be like, "Okay, like why was that useful to you? Like what was the impact of this big move, quote unquote, that you did?" And if you
Yeah.
don't have a good answer to that, then it's useless. Like even though it was the boring answer, if you voted out Charlie, you would say this helped us because it lowered Sega's numbers further and gave the other two tribes control of the game. So that's a
That's right.
tangible answer. Getting Soda out, was she plotting against you? Was she, not really. Like, is she in an enemy alliance? No, actually, she was working with you in theory. You say she's a big threat, but like, what's your evidence? We'll never know because you voted her out so early. Like this, I do feel this is a tough thing. I mean, maybe if it's like a supplemental, maybe that's the idea. Like, hey, I have a real big move planned later. This is going to be like a supplemental move, maybe.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think just keep that in mind. Like, you do want to fill out your resume of big moves, but then it should be big moves that matter.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And that takes us to the namesake of this episode, right? The hide and seek, where interestingly enough, the person who was just pouting over, hey, the rest of the guys are goofing off and I'm just kind of here trying to figure out strategy. Q actually comes up with the idea of, hey, do you guys want to do hide and seek? And most everyone jumps on board and like, yeah, let's do it. We're not doing a challenge. We're not doing anything else. Let's just play some hide and seek. And it's just we hear people talk about it that, hey, everyone's like super competitive, but this is an opportunity where we actually see it, where there's nothing at stake. Really, they're not winning, they're not losing anything. But the way that it's being handled, it's like, and especially for Q, not just Q, like some of the other survivors too, they use it as an analogy for, okay, this person is this competitive because they're taking this action and they're going to this extent to hide and not being found, or they're giving up too easily, or this and that. And we're extrapolating this thing about who they are as a survivor based on their actions in this game of hide and seek, which is pretty trivial.
yeah,
What were your
let me
thoughts on
ask you:
that?
has at any point in the season did Liz feel like a big threat, big strategic threat to you?
I think she's a subtle threat. Yeah, I think she's very observant, but she's someone who I think can essentially also be a self-destruct target.
Okay, well,
She's very smug at times herself, but she's more subtle about it compared to like Venus, for example.
you may say subtle, but Q has decided she is a huge threat, not to be trusted's gotta go because Liz found me in hide and seek. Big mistake. Now I know that she's a threat. She's gotta go.
Yeah.
These are the analyses we're gonna get from Q. What else? Uh Ben hiding
Ben
in
and
the
Hunter,
grass.
the two last
Can't
to be found.
gotta go. Hunter hiding in a tree. Ooh, even though he's in my alliance and like I'm supposedly protecting the six at all costs.
And
Nah, too
literally
good.
Tim was talking to me about him being a threat just the last episode where yes, his team has consistently been beating me and I kind of brushed that off. Now that we're playing this trivial game of hide and seek where he's the last to be found, now I see him as a threat.
Yep.
It's like
Gotta go.
I don't understand Q's thought process, but whatever.
So we got three gotta goes. Liz gotta go. Ben's gotta go, and his alliance member Hunter's gotta go due to hide and seek performances, which by the way included being found because Liz was found and Hunter was not found, and yet both of them got to go. So I'm not really sure what's happening here. And then Venus also does some analysis. She decides that Tiffany didn't take into account her red buff, and therefore she's not observant in this game. Not a threat.
Yeah.
But Maria, who like put some twigs in her hair, ooh, that's like sneaky and strategic. So I gotta watch out for Maria. So Venus also paying attention.
Yeah, another recurring theme of this specific episode, outside of Q being one of the focal points, is climbing, right? The person we essentially see found last in hide and seek is Hunter. He's hiding up a tree. We get into the immunity challenge, where even before we get into the challenge, Jeff throws an interesting proposition for everyone. He reveals a bag of rice and says, okay, I'm going to need 4 of you to actually sit out of this challenge. Or I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Will, he does also, I think, mention an alternative where 2 people decide not to vote. And
yeah, so the context is, for most of the New Era seasons, there's been a point around this time of the merge where this rice negotiation occurs. And before this season, usually how it goes is Jeff asks for some number of people to sit out, and then the people are like, okay, what if 2 people win or 3 people, they negotiate, and then a compromise is gotten. That has tended to be how this has gone. So this is something they should expect, and I think they kind of do expect it's going to happen. They tried to negotiate, but after 5 seasons in the New Era, Jeff is done negotiating, so it's like, no, it has to be 4. But then he goes back on that and it's like, actually, if 2 of you choose to not vote this night at Tribal, no, I'll accept that too.
Very
yeah,
risky.
so this, I mean, it's every now and then it's interesting, but it's just like a bunch of New Era stuff. Like, it's the same every season, so it just gets old. But this is the first time that they actually all reject him, and there's no deal made.
Well, do they? We do see that Q and Liz are 2 to step out initially, and they're hoping that they can get 2 more people to join them, just so that they can all have, I think, a bag of rice for like the next 9 days. And Q is in particular is very adamant about, hey, yeah, like we need some food, we need to be able to eat. And I think in his mind, he's feeling pretty good about his position. So he's thinking, okay, if I step out, maybe someone else will join me. And unfortunately for him, that does not end up being the case. The only other person who shows some sort of inclination towards doing that is Charlie. He doesn't really step out, but he does say, okay, like
Liz too. Liz stepped out.
She stepped out. Yeah, I called her out with Q initially. The only other person who does consider it is Charlie, and Charlie is like, yeah, if someone else wants to do it, maybe as a pair thing, we can do it. And Q's just like, yeah, I mean, like, you just step out regardless, and if someone joins you, they join you, and we'd have her 4. And we see Charlie not really do it, because they all understand the risks. But eventually, yes, it doesn't happen. And that takes us to the challenge itself, which is a climbing challenge. It's one of the classic challenges of Survivor, not one that I think I've seen before, especially not this variation of it. It is another endurance challenge where they're climbing up a pole, and they're starting at the top of the pole. They've got some grooves where they can hold on to for support. But essentially, it's as simple as just hold on to the pole. Do not let your feet touch the ground. Whoever can last the longest stays. And the other interesting thing before even getting to the challenge was Venus feels very confident in this challenge. She feels that, why should I decide to sit out if I feel like I can win this challenge? So let me give it a shot and try to conquer this challenge. And for her, she does pretty well. She holds her own. And the 2 people that originally do sit out for the rice and are the 2 people that we see get eliminated first. In Jeff's words, in under 20 seconds. Those 2 being Q and Liz.
Yep.
And then slowly, one by one, we do see others picked off up until towards the final 3. We get not Liz. We get Venus, we get Charlie, and we get Hunter. Venus originally does look like she's in a good position, but off camera, we see her crawl lower, slide lower and lower. And then eventually Charlie is having a good time, and it looks like he's also doing pretty well. But he succumbs eventually and drops off, which leads Hunter to the win in this challenge, similar to winning hide and seek by hiding atop a tree. This was a good challenge. I like this challenge. What are your thoughts on it, Will?
First of all, I did the research, so this is called Get a Grip. It has happened several times
Perfect.
over the years, and it was on Cook Islands. It was after the merge, and Ozzy was able to outlast Candace to win that challenge.
Great.
It was also in uh season 48, but it was like part of a challenge. It was like a multi-stage challenge where like the finalists would be doing this part, which was, oh, I mean, I've forgotten some of these people already, but Joe and Eva were part of
Yeah.
it, Mary was part of it, and David was part of it at the final round, which was this part. Uh yeah, this is usually good. I mean, it's simple, so like it's not flashy. Although at the very end when Hunter wins, he just like wraps his legs around it and like leans back so he's upside down, and Jeff's like, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
What a
So
flex.
yeah, if you don't want to be a threat, maybe let's not do those kind of flexes. But
Let it be
yeah,
known, by the way, calling back to the previous episode 7, Tim points out that Hunter is a challenge threat, and Q just brushes it off. Like, yeah, no, we could beat him in challenge. Like, that's debatable.
debatable.
And just the next episode, Q is like the first person eliminated, and Hunter is just pretty much like doing this in his sleep.
Yeah. So another win for Hunter. Hunter, like rising the ranks of just challenge beasts. And in his case, both physical challenges and puzzle challenges. So good on you, Hunter. Now this time, everybody is gonna vote, so that's cool. But the drama is just beginning. So before the challenge, actually, we had a conversation between Tevin and Tiffany, and both members of the Six. And Tevin just is, just the classic, who do you want to vote for if we need to vote for somebody? And Tiffany mentioned, she just actually doesn't mention anybody, but she's like, well, uh, we should probably just wait until after the challenge, and then we'll figure out who's available. Not a controversial thing to say, I don't think. Tevin has an okay point where, like, you probably should have said somebody. I mean, there's a couple people to choose from. Like, if you
She
say Venus, no one's gonna disagree with you.
Yeah,
Uh,
she was actually not thinking of taking out Venus. She said, well, we could hold that vote for another time just because she'll always be there. She's not really a bit too big of a threat, and no one's gonna vote with her. So that was the
she
standout piece
doesn't
for what
name
Tiffany was
anybody
saying.
else. Like,
Yeah,
that's so. But so if she had said Venus, everyone would be like, yeah, okay, that's fine, makes sense. But she goes out of her way to be like, maybe we don't target Venus, but I'm not going to tell you who I want to target. We'll wait till after. But waiting until after immunity is not the
it's kind of
craziest thing
weird.
in the world. I mean, like,
It's kind of weird to me.
it's it could be weird. I mean, usually, like, it's weird with your actual number one, but like for the whole alliance is like, I don't want to think about that right now. But I guess you should say something. The weird thing is
It,
saying no.
yeah, I mean, to me, it's like we got to be strategic around something. If you're just leaving it up to anyone after this immunity challenge, I don't know if my name's on the chopping block, right? Like,
Yeah.
unless it's
Well,
supposed to be like implied, right?
it's supposed to be implied, but that's it. But it's easier for the implication to be trusted with your close alliance. But the weakness of the plus one alliance is that it's a bunch of people brought together. It's three pairs versus like people who actually wanted to be together. It's like a bunch of people dragged into this.
Yeah.
So Tevin and Tiffany are not really strategically close, and so, but Tevin decides to blow up Tiffany's spot. Like he basically tattletales on her to Q. And for the
Yeah,
fourth time in this episode, Q
this
decides she gotta go. Another person's gotta go.
yeah. Now just within this episode alone, the second person he's called out of the core 6 that he's part of, including in this case his number 1. So it just goes to show you like how strong these relationships are. How, earlier in the episode, what Charlie's calling out in terms of like, I don't know how strong this bond is. It seems like it's one of the weakest groups of 6 that I've seen. And he's not wrong about that, at least based on what I've seen so far too. But this entire sequence gets so chaotic where we hear one name after the other after another. Hunter cannot be voted out. People talk about him as a threat. Tevin's name comes up. Tiffany's name comes up. Venus's name comes up. Who else? It practically like everyone who does not have immunity's name comes up. It's like in some way, shape, or form, like they're trying to target whoever they can target. And even if you're a part of whatever alliance we're trying to build, you're one of our targets.
Yeah, well, because you thought that it was going to be the new 6 versus the other 4, and they'd pick one of those other 4. So it would be either Ben, Liz, Venus, and one other person I'm forgetting. Or Kenzie, technically. Those are the people that are not in the 6. But because there's infighting now, like, Q's decided it's got to be Tiffany. Then Liz actually is like, it's my time to shine. I think we should go after Tevin, which is going to make sense to Venus because she has no love for Tevin. That's fine. And then Ben and Charlie are like, well, or not Ben. Well, technically, yeah, Ben, Charlie, and Maria are like, yeah, that's someone from Nami, so I'll at least consider it. And then for Charlie and Maria, like he is part of the 6, but we'll see how this plays out. Um, at some point, the existence of because Q gets told by Tiffany it's going to be Tevin, and Q obviously is like, why? It's funny in his head. Betrayal of the 6, my God! But meanwhile, you are planning to get out Tiffany, so that's crazy. But Tiff is like, it's gonna be Tevin, like it's over. And then Q decides to go talk to Hunter and be like, hey man, the 6 is ruined. Everyone you thought you were his ally is not your ally. It's gonna be Tevin. There's nothing we can do, but I just want you to know so you're not blindsided. But Hunter doesn't want to accept that because Tevin is his number 1. So of course he's gonna try to fix this. And he kind of assembles the group. And what a weird scene. Like they're all talking on the beach. Hunter's trying to figure it out to protect Tevin. Meanwhile, the other 4 are sitting to the side, and Venus gets frustrated. She's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go walk over there. Which she's right. There's no rule against that, but
It's just
so
lack
awkward.
of self-awareness. Add that to
gets
the
like
self-destruct.
just gets shooed away, and like Hunter's like, can we just vote for her? Like, which I actually thought that was when I was watching it the first time. I thought that was going to happen. Be like, this was funniest way for Venus to get voted out.
Yeah,
so everything's in flux right now.
It's funny, isn't it? Like for as dominant as the Nami tribe has been, they're all like itching to get each other out. Like you notice that? That's so weird. And the other interesting thing about this entire sequence is that Q actually reveals to Maria that Tiffany actually has an idol. He comes out and just tells her.
Yeah, well, because at that point, when Q wants to vote out Tiffany and is being a hypocrite and targeting someone in the alliance, he kind of uses that as extra reasoning to persuade Maria to go against someone in the alliance. But meanwhile, Maria, I mean, that's fine. Like she was brought into this alliance, and her only person she really cares about is Charlie anyway. But yep, the beans have been spilled now on that. So everything's in flux. When we go to tribal, most likely it's either Tevin or Venus, because are those like the last two names we'd heard, and like maybe Tiffany, but it does seem like things have cooled on being Tiffany. And then, oh my god, I still don't know what we just watched. Suddenly,
Yeah.
Q interrupts Jeff because Jeff was about to go to like whatever his next question is. He's like, before we get any further, Jeff, I just want like I actually should announce that I won't be here next time, so no one else has to worry. And Jeff is understandably perplexed. And yeah, Q explains that he wants everyone to vote him out because he thinks he wants them all to have a fresh start because he made a mistake and he doesn't want someone else to suffer because of the mistake he made. But I, what a weird thing to, and everyone is just bamboozled. Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's crazy.
Yeah. No, they all needed a moment to then reflect just because it caught everyone by surprise. Jeff actually asked them if anyone knew what he was talking about, and they all said no, including his number one. And it, like, even for like Tiffany and Kenzie, this is not the first time they've heard Q just telling them, like, oh, you guys should vote for me. And it's just, I got so upset at this moment just because, like, there's already so much chaos, and then Q is kind of just flipping everything upside down. Now they're stuck in a position where they're asking Jeff for more time to be able to just talk to each other during tribal before they get to vote to figure out who the vote's going to be. And you see half the group going up to Q, consoling him, trying to get him to stop trying to self-destruct or trying to figure out a plan forward with him. Then you see some people like Tevin who are saying like, oh, okay, well, like, why don't we just vote him out then? Like, he's clearly not in the game. And his point is correct. Like, it's not a winning strategy to be telling people to be voting you out. Like, I don't care like how much gaslighting you're doing to try to do that. That's just not a smart strategy. Like, and I just I went in thinking that as soon as he's saying that, like, this is not the first time we're seeing him do that. At least previously it was just internally with his own group, even before they got to tribal. He's now doing this like unabruptly, like with everyone else around him. Post merge, with few people having very limited interactions with him. I would not be very trusting towards Q and like how he's flip flopping on things 24/7. If things are getting crazy chaotic, if we want a fresh restart, okay, I agree with your sentiment there. I would be someone who would quickly vote out Q because that just makes sense to me.
Yeah, and like Tiffany and Kenzie at first are the people where I think it makes sense. Like, we don't want that because we are trying to survive as a group of three. And if Q leaves, then it's like he got voted out, and now it's only the two of us. And that hurts our game. So I do understand their reaction, but Tevin makes a point of like, if he's gonna be this volatile, like what if we try to do a plan with him and this happens again and ruins the
Exactly.
plan, and so, but easy to say when like obviously like Tevin has his own like Tevin's probably thinking, well, even if we get out Q, I still have the 5-person alliance then, and that's still a majority, whatever. We'll
But
go
that
from there.
alliance, who started that alliance? Who started that thought? I'm pretty sure it was Q, right?
Yeah, it was
Well,
Q, but they could probably be like, good riddance, like we'll just continue without him, and then it'll
but
be me, it'll be
here
Tevin, Hunter, Tiffany, Maria, and Charlie, and we'll go.
here's the thing though, like, if I'm in that position, I don't know what conversations he's had with the other people in that core six that I was not a part of. And now it brings that question into my mind where it's like he's doing this just kind of in the spur of the moment. How many times has he done this before? This is not a normal way to go into tribal, right? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, it brings like all these like elements of chaos into any sort of plan that I'm now forming, that it's like it's just better to eliminate him. And I don't know if I can trust that sort of tribe that he is now he was previously associated with. uh I have, Hunter, who's been with me even prior to that, but I don't know like what my relationship is with the other people now that I'm trying to work with. They might have been blindsided too, but I don't know if he's had those conversations with them or if they're just essentially gaslighting me and leading me to believe something that's not true.
Yeah, because I guess like it could have this like they could have also thought that this was some elaborate scheme to confuse them too. There's no guarantee. Like he's not actually quitting. He's
He
he's
himself said he wasn't quitting.
as yeah, he's as close as it comes to quitting, but he's still forced. Because remember, I forget Austin, right? He's the person who quit from season 7, and then Jeff like threw his torch on the ground or whatever. Uh, like he actually quits. Whereas like if
Yeah,
Q
that
had
was
been
more
voted out,
straightforward.
yeah, if Q had been voted out, this would not have technically, even though it's as close as you could guess to being a quit, it would not have gone down as a quit. Um,
I
like it
and
could all
I
be some elaborate ruse. Like you don't know. I think what probably happened here is I have no idea what Q just did, but my plan was to get out a threat to me in the game, and I have no idea what Q just did, but the person I want to go out is still a threat to my game. So I need to prioritize the bigger threats. I think what happened is despite the chaos of Q, uh, most people still thought that Tevin was a bigger threat to win, and then Tevin and Hunter, they just hate Venus. They want Venus to go. That feels like probably what happened, but I understand. Like in the moment, you're like, why put up with this chaos that could one day hurt me, and as actually has hurt some of them already, including Tiffany, because it gets revealed by Charlie to Tiffany that they know about her idol now, which was one of the few, not secret to everybody, but it was an advantage that Q, Kenzie, and Tiff had together, where only they know about her idol. That probably could have been something really useful as a secret weapon, but unfortunately, not secret anymore. That's because of Q. Uh,
Yeah, and she still votes. She doesn't vote for him. Like
nope.
this was
She,
the most disappointed that I've been in a tribal. That it's just for me the easy thing is Q. Right, I can try to rationalize delaying the vote for anything else, but the fact that you have someone who's showing no inclination of being in the game, who's throwing a lot of chaos into everything, who him like he shouldn't be in the game at this point. Like if he's giving up this way, he's just being performative. If you're actually talking about giving up, go have a conversation with Jeff, tell him to just take you out. Don't have to like do this like random, like in the middle of the tribal without talking to anyone. Like it just comes off as partially performative. And I I don't know. I just did not appreciate that. And this is one of those things where it's like it just doesn't feel right to me because it's like we just bailed Q out in a week that he should have gotten eliminated. He did not have a good episode. He continued to be bossy. Towards the end of like the Banu saga, I should say, we had moments where it's like, yeah, this Yanu tribe can turn it around, and for the most part, they have. But you've seen a power shift come with Q, where now he's like not even concerned about being eliminated, and we're clearly seeing that. He was one of the first people to not worry about losing his vote when it comes to just getting some rice. You know what the other people are worried about? Hey, if my name gets put out there, and if I try to get like, if I am on the verge of being eliminated, I need my vote as a thing of safety. He wasn't even concerned about
yeah,
that.
yeah, or be able to participate for a chance at immunity, because that's the thing is if you sit out, you have no chance for immunity. So that's why you don't want to sit out because you want the chance to win the immunity necklace. Yeah, this has like vibes of like, don't worry, I could fix him. Like I wonder if that's what we're gonna see, where like Q went mad, but I'll set him straight. Like depending on who it is that
I
still wants to work with them,
I
if
just think
anyone.
that's the wrong play.
Yeah,
We
and we'll
saw
see if
that
that
with
works.
we saw that with Banu. We saw that with Banu. Did that work? No.
Nope, nope. Uh, So yeah, we'll see. Wild. In the end, most people still vote for Tevin. So it kind of comes across as, despite the chaos, this was probably the original plan, where Tevin was blindsided and Hunter did not get his wish of turning the votes against Venus. Tevin goes home, uh, takes it well, is excited to be his torch snuffed. Would you like to see Tevin again?
Honestly, this is one of the few yeses I'll say so far.
Ooh, okay.
I think he has it in him to play a strong game of Survivor. He is very charismatic, as most people have mentioned. I did not like how he got eliminated. Yes, I could see the threat that most people are talking about. So I think I would like to see him being given another opportunity and see maybe what he does differently. Maybe he might hang back a little bit more. I think him being as social and as good as he is with his social game, not being, being somewhat competitive in challenges too, makes him a pretty good person to see how far he can take his game if he can get to the very end.
Yeah, I liked Tevin. Now, importantly, if Q had not had this random outbreak at Tribal, the main story would have been that Tevin got duped because ultimately most people blindsided him.
Yeah.
And basically because everybody except for Venus knew that he was in charge of the soda vote, and he's like, ooh, he's a player. We gotta get rid of him. He's too good, which is a bit of a disturbing trend in the new era where the moment you do something good, you're instantly the next target to go home. Even though like I don't even know if getting out soda was even that good. I mean it was fine, but yeah. So we lose Tevin.
Yeah.
And we don't usually talk about the next time on Survivor, but just made me what a predictable outcome, which is Tiffany just laying into Q for good reason. But just like you said, yeah, Tiffany, you're real mad, but you could have what you could have done about it. You could have persuaded people to get him out at that time.
Yeah. As soon as he said that, everyone was like confused in terms of, oh, I don't know who to vote for. Maybe vote for the guy who's causing all this chaos. Like, I don't know why you're throwing the person a lifeline, which I'm sure other people, if they were given that opportunity, would have loved that opportunity. Like,
I mean,
it's not
there is something to forcing the person who wants to quit to stay because a lot of the time that person is not playing at all. Like they're just like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. Just send me home. Which means if you keep them, they're not a threat to you because they just want to go home. They're doing nothing. But I don't get the impression that that's the type of thing that Q is gonna. I mean, I feel like Q will
but
continue
like
doing weird things.
even then, that's kind of weird to me. If someone's like not in it to win the game, like this might just be the competitor in me. It's like I don't want to play with them. I'd rather play with people that like I know I can face whoever's the best rest of in the rest of the game and try to overcome that. I don't want to like just from a strategy standpoint, does it work in your favor? Sure, but it's like I just kind of created this like shield around me and tried to like take advantage of a position where I know someone can't cause me harm just to get through survival. That wouldn't even be entertaining to watch. It's like if the person themselves does not want to be there, it's like who knows? It might be mentally affecting them in ways that we don't see. So like why keep them in the game that they don't want to be a part of? And to
All I'll
me,
say
this is
is
the second time I'm hearing Q mention this. It's not the first time.
oh, by the way, it's actually 3 times. It's just that one of the times Q said he was thinking about quitting, he claims in confessional that actually, I'm just making sure that Kenzie thinks that so that she won't play her shot in the dark. That was the episode that what happened? It was that Randon gets medevac so it doesn't come to that. I think. Or no, I think they just win that. That's when there was only 3 of them left and they would end up winning that time. Um
Yeah.
but for Kenzie, she's heard it 3 times now, uh, which is wild. But yeah, so Tevin gone, Q stays, and we continue into the Chaos Saga of what the heck could happen next. Oh my goodness. Let's wrap it up. So you've got still Hunter and Ben. Will you choose to stick with the 2 of them as your winner picks?
I will. And especially I mean they're both still targets, but feeling still pretty good about them. Hunter's especially in an interesting situation because we keep talking about this core 6. And now Hunter in particular has seen that like, okay, they got rid of Tim and now they got rid of my number 1. So, like, how trustworthy is this core 6 that we were trying to form this whole time when really it's just been harmful for me to even be part of this?
Right. Yeah. So I wonder where Hunter will go from here. Will he try to repair the six or maybe create something new or just go solo? Very interesting. But that is all the time we have for today. Two crazy episodes, especially our hide and seek episode. We'll have to find out. Will it get any less chaotic from here, or is there simply more chaos to come? But thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of Island Life. And next time for season 46, we will be going through episodes 9 and 10. Anything you want to get off your chest before we call it quits?
Well, I just hope it's whatever point we are in is rock bottom of this episode and is only up from here. At least for me. I'm sure other people might appreciate all the chaos, but I think just some more strategic play and smart decision making are what we see for the rest of the season.
Just remember that we had to experience this 1 week at a time, including the 4 episodes of Banu. So,
yeah.
Just imagine if we had to do that. But all right. Until then, and until we speak again, ciao.